everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Recruitment Roundup podcast, which is brought to you by BMS Performance. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, BMS Performance is a specialist sales and marketing recruitment consultancy. For the last 30 years, we've been helping businesses across the UK recruit for vacancies at every level. I'm your host, Mike Leather, and every week I'll be joined by a new guest where we'll get stuck into the latest trends in regards to recruitment. We'll talk about insights, we share ideas, we share experiences, and ultimately we look to provide value to fundamentally help you, whether or not you're a hiring manager, a business leader, or part of an internal talent team, to recruit smarter, faster, and more effectively. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Recruitment Roundup. I'm Mike Leather.
I'm Sam Gutierrez.
Hey, Sam. How's it going?
All good, Mike. How are you?
Good. All right. Not bad at the time of recording this. It is the start of brand new quarter, Q3, brand new month, Christmas quarter. So we thought we'd do an episode, which I'm really looking forward to, with 5 tips of ours on how you can succeed in sales. So this is definitely an episode for sales professionals who want to smash this quarter and achieve a really good performance, but also, I guess, for sales leaders too. So looking forward to getting stuck into it.
I'm really excited for this one, Mike, and you've touched on it there. I think it's an episode that can obviously hopefully add value to, sales reps and managers, and equally sales leaders. Hopefully there's going to be a few golden nuggets in there for everyone. And new month, lots of positive energy. I'm excited to get right into the Christmas quarter, as we call it.
Let's go. So tip number 1 was one of yours, Sam. And it was focus on building relationships, not just closing deals.
I love that. And when we were speaking about the theme for today's podcast, that's definitely tip number 1 from my end, right? And I think definitely wrongly, a lot of sales reps have built sort of a tendency to just focus on just closing deals and deal after deal. And look, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I think what we want to focus on ultimately, and the real top performers and the people that have probably reached the top levels in their career, don't just focus on the deal. The deal is a byproduct of the relationship. The relationship ultimately comes first. And when I think about, especially within my industry of work, the medical industry and med tech specifically, when we focus on long-term success and cultivating that relationship, that's when the magic happens. Because I think customers, they can sense it, when a salesperson is just looking to close a deal, get a deal over the line,
and
they can smell that. Absolutely. So in my experience, just investing time in nurturing those relationships with those prospects ultimately is going to help you build trust. It's going to help you build credibility, and that's where you want to be, because the more that you do that, the more trust you have, the more credibility that you've built up with the prospect over time, the more those deals will follow up anyway. So the idea of it is to just fully focus on the relationship, fully focus on getting to know your clients that you work with, so that when you've built up that real level of relationship and trust, the deals are they're going to come, but focus on the relationship. That makes sense.
So for salespeople that are listening to that and thinking, I understand that, but I feel like I'm focusing on building relationships anyway. So not sure if this applies, although I would like to close more deals. What are your key tips, would you say, for how you build relationships? What does that look like to you in terms of focus and building relationships opposed to closing deals?
That's a great question, Mike. And I think firstly, you genuinely have to care, right? And I think naturally with the way that I am. I genuinely care about the people that I work with. So I think that that's an intrinsic thing. Like you genuinely have to care about the prospect, care about them, tell them that, genuinely, and that starts at the front. Literally letting them know that I want this relationship to work, and
Mm.
I genuinely care about the people that I work with, and I really want this to go well. So obviously leading with that, and the key thing is putting things and putting steps in place to demonstrate that, right? So it's not
Mm.
just about saying this thing; it's about actioning this. So a big part of what I would be advocating and what I've been trying to do a lot more is just increase those touch points, so those regular follow-ups.
Yeah.
So that could be, getting more meetings. So instead of once that deal's closed and getting that moved on to like another department, why can't that be you following up just to make sure that that's gone really well? Why can't that be you, scheduling a meeting, booking a meeting from that meeting, and
Yeah.
looking to, to increase another touch point and then follow up from there and making sure that the customer is really happy with what they've received and you're not moving on to the next one. And then, so, what that looks like for me is, genuinely, showing that empathy and in terms of that communication, and then ultimately increasing those touch points, regular visits, offering value, and I think that's where it would start for me, because ultimately, happy clients lead to referrals, and
Yeah. And
referrals
repeat
repeat to
business.
repeat business. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's loads in there, Sam. Loads in there on that one. And the second point, one that I've added to
yeah,
this,
yeah,
and this is become obsessed with self-improvement. We could do a podcast on that topic itself. It's
yeah,
something that um, I pride myself on. I
yeah,
think as sales professionals, we always want to
yeah,
be improving daily. It's something that me and you talk about a
yeah,
lot. We talk about with the team, like 1% marginal gains. But in the
yeah,
context of this, like looking ahead for this quarter and to make it relevant for this episode, what I mean by that is just reviewing your performance.
yeah,
So this can be things like listening back to call recordings,
yeah,
asking colleagues and managers, other leaders for feedback, get them to come out onto shadowing meetings with you, shadow meetings with you if you
yeah, absolutely.
feel based, review maybe your core scripts, look at things as granular as the emails that you're sending,
Mm,
tweaking subject lines, like looking at response rates, what's working well, what isn't, like how intentional are you being with your actual prospecting activity? Are you really looking at a company and saying, right, I know why I'm prospecting them. I've got a sense of what the problems are that that company is facing, and therefore I know how to approach that decision maker to increase the chances of them
yeah,
engaging with me. That all comes from that really being like obsessed and thinking, and
yeah,
constantly reviewing your performance like mentally
yeah,
and also factually, I think as well.
yeah. No, I really, really like that, Mike. I mean, what would you say? And I think that's spot on, because that's what we do and what we preach internally as a team. You do get some sales reps, that are, quite confident and quite brash and quite bullish in their
Yeah.
approach. I mean, what would you be saying to someone who is perhaps like, oh, look, Mike, I don't need to be obsessed with all the things that you're saying. Like, I've got a proven track record of just, hitting target, for the past couple of years doing my job, and I believe I can do it. What do you think to someone who feels like that? Could
So
you still be
initially,
successful?
it depends on how they're defining success, but
Yeah,
initially, I would think there's a bit of a fixed mindset going on there. How do we move that person from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? My question would be, how much more money do you want to earn? If they were saying, I'm all right, actually, I'm pretty happy with my performance, I've got
okay,
no desire or ambition to improve further,
okay,
probably not someone we can help anyway.
okay,
But 9 times out of 10, someone would say, well, yeah, I can earn an extra 10k,
mm,
20k if I can improve my performance this quarter to
yeah,
become top performer over the calendar year. What can I do? Because there's always things we can
yeah,
improve on.
yeah. So it sounds like from your end, you're saying you've asked that question. Once we've got that answer, it's
Yeah,
almost like we work better and say, what are you doing now? And
yeah,
then if it's like improving on your introduction, if improving on your negotiation, recording those calls,
Yeah.
this is then going to help you get to where you want to get to, which is C, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But it starts with a growth mindset, doesn't it? It starts
Yeah,
with someone actually wanting to improve. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're
yeah,
probably someone that wants to get better, wants
yeah,
to improve, is thinking about, right, I'm doing this well, but can I do it better?
yeah,
The answer is yeah, we can always do things better.
yeah,
And sometimes because the sales environment that we're selling into is ever changing with technology, buyers having more information, making more decisions before they've even met with companies, etc.
yeah,
Changes in the success of different prospecting methods. Um, we've always got to be reviewing what we're doing.
yeah,
Always got to have that mindset of how
mm,
can it be better, what's working, what isn't working, because what was working 2 years ago isn't working as well now. What
yeah.
is working well now probably won't
Mhm.
work as well in
In the
three
future,
years.
in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So
Good stuff.
yeah, what's point three?
Point three right now. I love point three. So it's do the basics consistently every single day. That's
Yeah,
it, right? So I know I love point three, but other people would argue that's a boring point, isn't it? Like, but I think for anyone and anyone that will tell you, and regardless of sales aside, I think any top professional in the industry that they're in, if they're within the sporting industry, or any person that's done really well within themselves, there's been daily non-negotiables, that they've done every
mm,
single day to hold themselves accountable for, and by doing that consistently on a daily basis, it's ultimately gonna, impact you in a positive way to ultimately become a top performing sales professional, right? So it's something that we just need to do, and the more that
couldn't
we do,
agree
yeah,
more. I would say, in my experience
yeah,
of being a high performing sales professional and then
yeah,
managing
yeah,
a sales team and leading a sales team, this is the one thing
yeah,
that people struggle with the most
yeah,
by far.
yeah,
Everyone knows what the basics are, but doing them consistently is what
absolutely,
separates your C, your B, and your A. So
yeah,
you're very elite players.
yeah,
And it doesn't matter what company you're in, I would say to any sales leader, look at your top performers, the
yeah,
ones that are the most consistent,
yeah,
and consistent can be a term that you could use
yeah,
for several different aspects of a sales professional's job. It's not all about doing X amount of calls each day, doing X amount of meetings. It can be consistency in how someone's closing.
yeah,
It can be consistency in how someone's preparing and approaching for meetings. It can be
yeah,
consistency in how someone's like selling. It can
yeah,
be consistency in how someone is actually structuring,
yeah,
organizing their day.
yeah,
Consistency spans across everything, and that for me is a number one thing that separates
yeah,
your very best from the next level, from the next level, from the
yeah,
next level. You
yeah,
often find that people that are more maverick, maybe in their sales
yeah,
approach, can lack some consistency and they'll have
yeah,
these real peaks and troughs. But the
yeah,
very top performers that have consistency go like this, and then they've been able to create some form of like
yeah,
repeatable system that
yeah,
allows them to be
yeah,
successful. But it's all underpinned by basics.
yeah.
Isn't
Absolutely,
it?
you spot on, Mike. And I really love the fact that you've spoken about repeatable systems and what you're looking for predictability, right?
Yeah,
You're looking for,
yeah,
you want to know what would be better as a sales rep, knowing, right, bang, if I do these daily non-negotiable habits every single day, and you touched on consistency to close, consistency within my opener, consistency on calls, whatever that's doing, or planning my days, how amazing would that be if I know that I'm in this sales role and my bonus is an additional £20,000
mm,
per year, and if I do this every single quarter, I'm going to hit my minimum of 5k per quarter. But
yeah,
if I do that, I can earn even more,
yeah.
right? That's such a beautiful thing, right? And it's, you've got to do the daily habits every single day. So yeah, it's not the most exciting point, but like you said, that
It's
the top
arguably
performers,
the most important
uh,
one out of the
cer-
five.
it certainly
Arguably
is,
is.
and certainly is.
Yeah.
And before we move on to the next point, I think the beauty of someone who's being consistent is, look, you don't even have to be the most amazing person. You don't have to have that highest level of talent. When I think about ourselves and equally the team that we have, the people that are most consistent do really well. So like it's there. You just need to want it, hold yourself accountable. That's something that we can impact, and as long as you're consistent, the results will certainly follow.
Yeah, and this brings us on lovely to point 4, which is very simply working your absolute backside off. Because there's one thing doing the basics consistently. And for me, and this might be controversial, but I'm going to say it, because when sometimes people aren't consistent, it's because like the work ethic isn't there.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, or I'm being unfair there.
No, I think it's a real point, Mike. Like if you haven't got that intrinsic drive, if you haven't got that, battery charged, you're gonna fall short.
100%. 100%. And quite often, if someone knows what their success metrics are, they know what the formula success is, or like most salespeople work in teams of other salespeople. So they can look at someone else and think, right, I know how that person, their top performer, and have a conversation, how are you doing that? And people will say, well, this is what I do, this is how I plan my day. So there's proof there that can be done.
Yeah.
Someone else can do it. It can be done. Quite often the difference is that person is being consistent doing the basics because they're actually being more productive, more effective in their days than the B player and the C player. And that can be because they've got more focus, they've got less distractions, they're just in the zone. But actually, when they're having a day where they may be slightly behind some of those basics, lo and behold, they work longer. They might start a little bit earlier. They might put more effort in. Again, I'm yet to see a high performer, I mean like elite salesperson who is right up there, that isn't sometimes putting a bit more of a shift in outside of normal hours. And I think a lot gets said, doesn't it, about work-life balance, and I really enjoy work-life balance and recording this working from home today. I think it's super important, but I also think the balance bit is the key, isn't it? Right, there's some times where work is going to have to balance, is going to maybe favor more on the work side than the life side, and it can be in a day, it can be over a couple of days, but this can be the difference in someone like you've just said then earning X amount per quarter, but earning treble that or whatever it might be. But it's often something that doesn't get spoken enough, and I really think for salespeople that want to really succeed, like now is the time. Like we were talking about this, weren't we? And our team meeting, now is the time. This month is absolutely pivotal to the quarter.
Absolutely. I've got a question for you, Mike, then, because I really like where we are with this point. And let's say I'm a salesperson, and I suppose I've come into October. I really want to have that drive. Like you're saying, I want to put a shift in. I feel like I'm putting a shift in, but then there are times I'm perhaps not having those sort of energy levels. I suppose, what tip would you have, for someone coming into this point of the quarter, and what would you say?
I love that question. Right, so it depends. So it could be, why haven't we got like the energy? Right, I think taking care of yourself outside of work is so important. It really is. Like, what is your sleep routine? Like, I'm someone that worked really hard on trying to optimize my sleep and get better quality sleep. That comes into it. Like, what's that phrase? You can't pour from an empty bucket.
Love that one.
So if we're going to be, if we're going to be on it, and we're going to want to be in a situation where like we've got good energy, then we need to make sure that we're getting rest. Like if you're, not going to bed at 12 o'clock, half 12 at night, and then you're getting up at half 6, you're just not going to be at your best. So you've got to take care of that. You've got to take care of your sleep routine. Big thing for me, win in the morning. Like when I can, usually work from home days, I go to the gym, but I have a morning routine that's consistent, so that when I'm actually coming into work, I'm in a place where I'm like, right, I feel good, ready for the day. And another point, which is still on topic, is when you're coming into the day, having an actual plan. because then if we're coming in to, let's say it's Wednesday morning and we've got a list of things to do, we know, and that's all planned out, we're organising ourselves, so the top priority stuff's done first, that will build motivation and momentum in the day, which then creates energy, opposed to coming into your day, you've not had some great sleep the night before.
Yeah.
Oh, what have I got to do today? I've got to plan my day out. I've got to do
Yeah.
this, I've got to do that.
Yeah.
It just creates a sluggish start, which then breeds into the rest of the day. So I'm a big believer in resting well, starting your morning in good form will then allow you to have a good outcome every day. So I would go down that route if someone's saying that they've got low energy. But there's a multitude of different ways you could go with that. Answer. And that's on the basis that someone is engaged, obviously, in the job that they're doing. Yeah. And there could be other reasons why someone's low energy. There could be things going on outside of work, etc. But saving all that, let's just say someone doesn't feel like they've got great energy for whatever reason. They feel a little bit tired. I would say always look at how you're looking after yourself and taking care of yourself outside of work, etc.
Yeah, well, got to get that sleep in. Got to get that sleep in. Mike. Good point.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well.
Okay. Point 5 to finish off on was one of yours. A great point. Active listening.
Yeah. So not even just active listening, Mike. And I really love point 5. It's master the art of active listening. I think when I think about sales and I think about my journey into sales, and also when I think about, some of the people that want to get into sales, you hear people that be like, oh, he's got the gift of the gab, doesn't he? Like, you should get into sales. Oh, you're quite chatty. You should get into sales, right? And how many times do we hear of that where, you hear about someone who's like, really chatty, who's really extroverted. And I'm not saying that these are bad traits, by the way, but these are traits that if you have them, we need to control them, because the very, very best salespeople, and sales isn't about talking, like anyone who is worth their weight within gold within sales, it's not about talking, it's about understanding the needs and concerns of your customer so that you can ultimately help them and, prescribe some solutions to help them along the way, right? So the very, very, very best people are effective sales, are very effective listeners, shall we say. So struggle to get that one out, Mike. So I think within your role, you want to be someone who ultimately practices that, that active listening, so that you can ultimately prescribe and ask effective, open-ended questions, right?
How can someone get better at active listening?
That's a great point. And obviously, I do want to think about this question. A big part of what we do is we do quite a lot of role plays, a lot of practice within that sense, right? So if I'm working within maybe my first sales role or whatever sales role that looks like, practice role plays, practice recreating solutions where you are speaking to, a customer on the other end of the phone, a client on the other end of the phone, and practice the pause. I'm a big believer in that. So don't be afraid of that silence and that awkwardness. So ask the question. It's going to be that silence. Practice the pause. Listen. And then ask a question. So, I think those are 2 key tips that I think, would help anyone within sales, so that you can ultimately, tailor your pitch a bit more directly. So the listening is key.
It's crucial. Like if I'm listening to salespeople's calls, I think we have like a tendency to have our own agenda. Here's the things that we know that we want to ask and qualify, and what we forget to do is just have a conversation with the person, and that's because we're not listening properly. Like the thing that you said there, which I loved, was the pause. Like the best salespeople that I've heard are comfortable in the silence. Like they'll ask a question, they'll get a response, and then they don't acknowledge the response. So I say, no, I appreciate that, it was great to hear. We're working with another supplier. Oh, it's great to hear. It's not. It's not great to hear. Like it's not. Like we're just filling space. We're not listening, because then we're thinking, oh, it's great to hear. Right, on to the next question. Opposed to taking a pause, you're working with another supplier. What would be a logical question to ask about this subject next? That's really going to engage that prospect. And by doing that, the byproduct is we end up having a conversation with someone that feels like a conversation, not that we've just got a list of bullet points that we've got to tick off to qualify a company in, qualify them out, whatever it might be, etc. So I think that's a really important point, and that's one that I think salespeople can do immediately, but it comes back into everything else we've been speaking about, which is
Yeah.
self-improvement, reviewing
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
You're only going to be able to know this by listening
Yeah.
back to calls, getting people to critique you. But that is something that can have a net benefit straight away. And it'll also
Absolutely.
polish up your communication style as well, because you'll feel
Absolutely.
like your calls and your conversations are just running more smoothly
Yeah.
and they're less frantic
Yeah.
and less panicked, because we're trying to fill in all the gaps. We don't like the silence.
Yeah. Yeah. I really love that. Take a step back.
Yeah.
Pause. Listen. Ask an effective open-ended question.
Great. Okay. So there are 5 tips.
Yeah.
And to finish off, it's Sam's sales tip of the week.
Yeah.
What have
No,
you got for us?
Yeah. So, and I was thinking long and hard about this one, and it's on the back of some of the feedback that I've been getting with, some of the clients that I've been working with, and I think there's definitely a tendency that I've been finding where a lot of candidates, when they're applying for a role at this time, you want to ultimately tailor your experience for the job that you're going for. If we think about what do I mean by that, right? So let's say you've got your CV and you found this role that you recruit that you really want to go for. It's a business development manager, and the skill set within the job description is X, Y, and Z, right? If you want to increase the chances of you being interviewed by this company, if you want to increase the chances of you standing out, why can't we tailor make our CV and, touch 1 or 2 points, cross-reference that with the job description on the back of some of the things that we're doing within our role now to make ourselves stand out, right? So, and that will make such a massive difference, because I've got an example now of an excellent, candidate that I've been engaging with, and I've got a really good background, for a role that we've been recruiting for a while, and they have a lot of, the transferable skills that they're looking for, selling at a C-suite level, and examples of, clinical evidence selling, and they've done a lot of that. But their CV, if you had seen that, and when they applied for the role, it was chalk and cheese. And obviously, we interviewed and screened, and we assessed the candidate. We asked the relevant question, but if they had, made those slight alterations, sometimes that makes all the difference. And especially if you're a candidate within this market, tailor make your CV for the job that you want to go for. Because if you really want this job, take you a couple of minutes. So it starts there. So that's my point. And then equally, when you are in the interview and you've prepped and you've done your research on the company, when you're answering the questions, tailor make your answers to go with what the company's looking for on the back of the job description. So if they're looking for, a new business sales professional, let's make sure that when we're answering these questions, we're providing evidence of our new business wins, we're providing evidence of our sales process and our structure, providing key examples of our greatest, win over the last year or so. And so yeah, I think that's my tip for anyone within sales preparing for an interview. It's tailor make your CV and your experience to make yourself stand out for the role that you're going for.
Extremely logical, I would say.
Yeah.
And effective. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed that. We will be back next week with another episode. Have a great
Absolutely.
week. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, Mike. See you guys next week.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Recruitment Roundup podcast. Thank you very much for listening to the show, to watching the show. We really appreciate your support. It would be absolutely fantastic if you could give us a rating on Apple, on Spotify, give us a review. Any feedback really helps and is massively appreciated. So thank you once again for joining us, and we will hopefully see you again next week.